Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. In my past episodes, pretty much every single one, and if not every single one, and it should have been in every single one, I have said this, that communication and acceptance are the pillars to any and all relationships. And I mean literally any and all relationships. Because without these two things, no relationship will last. Okay? And I feel like I should just talk about it further so that more people understand. And more people understand, maybe the mistakes that they're making or the things that they think they're doing, but they're not doing. So we're going to start off with communication. And honestly, to me, communication is like literally the lifeblood of society. We cannot, under any circumstance, survive without communication. We cannot. To the point that for those who are unable to speak, there's sign language. For those who can't do any of these things, what we've used technology, like, Stephen Hawking had, so that he was able to still communicate with people. And to this day, science is still trying to advance communication to the point that people that aren't able to will be able to at some point in the future. Because that's how important communication is. Now, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but it might sound like that. So there are some stereotypes between men and women. Women, specifically, they are to be perceived as being like the greatest communicators, but in fact, women are usually, and I hate to say like women because everybody's an individual and everybody's their own person. I don't want to for someone to listen to this and think like, oh, but he said all women are bad communicators. No, all women are not bad communicators, but stereotypically they are considered to be good communicators and they're not. And mainly, well, there's like some subcontext here because like when they talk to each other, like if they're really, really good friends, women can like back up the dump truck of everything that's going on in their life and everything that they're feeling and all that stuff right to somebody's house and just be like, blah, 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 and just let it all out. And I've been in that position. I mean, considering what I do, I have many, female friends that have used me for such things where they literally have told me every single thing going on in their life and how they feel towards it, which, fantastic. But here's the funny thing. When it comes to like actual relationships, that's where hey, like, is everything okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And it's like, oh my God, fine. What a word. See, another thing with communication is that people don't put enough importance on what words actually mean. Like definitions of words. Like let's look up the definition of fine, shall we? Shall we? Let's do this, okay? The definition of fine. Of high quality. Of high quality. So if a woman looks pissed, like your partner, your significant other looks pissed, and you go, hey, you having a good day? Like, is everything okay? And she goes to you, I'm fine. It's fine. I'm fine. She's meaning that she's having a day of high quality. Very small particles found in mining. Yes. Hey, honey, how's your day? Are you feeling okay? Fine. She means like it's very small particles. Her day is of very small particles. In a satisfactory or pleasing manner, very well. Very, very well. Very well. Hey, are you okay? How are you feeling? Fine. As in, she's very well. Because more times than not, and obviously I'm perpetuating this stereotype or this misuse, not stereotype, this misuse of language, because fine, as we just read, has a meaning. And the way that people use this word tends to not be in that manner. But at the same time, maybe they are. And we're just trying to hear what we want to hear, because as men, we want to solve, again, not as men, certain individuals, because again, everybody's their own person. But generally speaking, men want to solve problems. So if there's a problem, I want you to tell me this problem so I can help solve the problem, because that's what we do, or that's what we like to do. But fine isn't an answer. And when you're using the word incorrectly and you say that you're fine, but in reality, you're like, my day is shit. There's so much going on inside my head. I wish that, this day would be over. If I could just go to sleep, wake up, everything would be okay. That's not fine. That's not even close to the meaning of fine. Yet so many of us, the minute that we hear the word fine, it's like a red flag goes up or an alarm bell goes off. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Fine never means fine, even though in the dictionary it does. And see, that's a big problem. Number one, in female communication, so to speak. Again, not everybody. Because rather than speaking to their significant other and saying, like, you know what? No, you asked me how my day was. This is how my day was. My day was shit because of this, because of that, because of that, because of this. I feel like this. I feel like that. I feel like that. I feel like this. And men, not all men, but some men, specifically these types of men that I'm about to say, should just listen. And sometimes not every problem needs a solution. And see, like, this is where we get into the complexities of like relationships, right? Because women hold back because they know that, oh, you know what, my guy, he might like, grab a shotgun and go take care of this. And we don't need to escalate these problems to that manner. And then aside, the guy is like, like, shit, why doesn't she just tell me what's going on? Like, I know fine doesn't mean fine. Why doesn't she just talk to me and tell me? Because on one end, she thinks you're going to like walk in with a shotgun. And on the other end, you need to learn how to not do that and just be a good listener. And see, like, this is like the problem with the dynamic of relationships. People sometimes have a hard time listening to each other. And guess what? Listening is literally half of what communication actually is, because you have to listen to the other person. Now, words are important, because just like the word fine and it having like this ulterior meaning, there are all kinds of words that each and every one of us might have attached to a different meaning. And I can ask you, how many times have you dated someone, not even dated someone, even with a friend, a coworker, even a stranger on the street, where you say one thing, they jump to a conclusion of some sort, and then you're like, no, wait, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I meant this. Well, if you meant this, why didn't you just say this first? Why did you say it this one way as opposed to the correct way that you had to correct yourself after the fact, right? I literally was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day where we were talking about essentially the words nice and kind. And she's like, no, I hate being called nice. I'm not a pushover. Like you don't walk all over me. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm pretty sure the definition of nice doesn't mean pushover or someone that you can walk all over. I'm pretty sure the definition of nice means someone that is nice, someone that is kind, someone that cares for others, or whatever the case is. I ended up looking it up, the definition of kind and nice. And essentially kind is like a deep rooted, thing of you being a certain way with people, like caring about them, right? And nice is similar to kind, but it is more superficial. So something you'd probably be with a stranger, like, hey, wonderful day we're having. It's nice to see you. Hi, My name is Joey. Like, what's your name? Like, just being nice. That's being nice. Superficial, not very deep. Kind is the deeper version of that, where it's someone that you truly care about and, obviously trying to help and wish them well and et cetera, et cetera. But nowhere in these definitions is pushover. If you looked up pushover, then you'd see pushover. But see, with this one specific person, she had this idea that when someone called her nice, she would get angry. And the funny thing is like, if someone was to call you nice, they don't necessarily mean that you're a pushover. They probably mean that you're nice. And this idea of you being a pushover has either stemmed from, your childhood, your life, whatever the case is. And the thing is, she's probably not the only person that thinks that way. Because when you think of the word nice, what else is it attached to? Let's bring in our favorites. The, shoot, it just escaped my mind now. Narcissist. Let's bring in the narcissist, right? So if you're with a narcissist or dating a narcissist or know a narcissist, right, and they don't get your way, all of a sudden you're mean. You're not a nice person. Okay, so if I was to not stand my ground and let you have whatever it is that you want from me, then I would be nice. Well, that's a complete different definition of the word now, right? Because just because I'm nice doesn't mean I can't stand my ground. I could still be nice and stand my ground. I'm not going to let you violate me and whatever. And in fact, I think that's actually very childish because that's how children speak. Oh, you're not going to let me play with your toys. You're not nice. No, they're my toys and I'm going to play with them and you can't play with them right now. Full stop. That does not make me not a nice person. It just makes me me. And yeah, I'm going to go play with my toys now. So that's what I mean. And depending on who we are and how much of our vocabulary has changed throughout the years because of whatever things that we attach or whatever meanings we attach to words, can now be very confusing to people that we date or friends or family or coworkers or bosses or customers. Because we say one thing and really mean another, rather than just saying it the right way the first time around. And I implore everybody that, you know what? Think about what you say. That saying, think before you speak, right? This is part of it. And I mean, I even went through this with my ex, quite a bit, where she would say something and then I would essentially say the same thing back to her, just in a different way. And she'd be like, no, that's not what I mean. And I mean, these weren't necessarily arguments or anything. I was just trying to clarify because I understood that sometimes she said shit, but meant something else. So just for me to be like an understanding boyfriend, so to speak, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Are you sure like this is what you mean? And then she's like, no, that's not what I mean. I mean this. And it's like, okay, next time, maybe just say this the first time around so that I better understand, like, what you're talking about and what you mean and what you want me to do and whatever the case is. Because that's proper communication with somebody, right? Because you do have to understand. Sometimes people speak a different language, even though it sounds like the language that we speak. This is why, like, the dictionary is so important, because it's a standard, right? And if we all went by this standard, communication would become so much easier for all of us, because now we have something to reference. Understood? So if you are that type of person, just think before you speak. Now, I digress, going back to the main topic of this. Okay, now when we're talking about men, generally speaking, their communication skills are also because they don't like to talk for the most part, especially when it comes to their feelings. They like to be very logical. But the funny thing is, and you may have noticed this, or you may have seen it, or you may have heard about it, but guys will essentially emotionally dump when a woman does it first. Right? And it might be a positive thing, it might be a negative thing. Generally, it's a negative thing. So like if a woman, says, hey, you know what? I've had this issue with you, not picking up your socks off the floor, or, something stupid like that. And then all of a sudden the guy is going to be like, okay, is this what we're doing right now? Okay. Well, you know what? I have an issue with you when you do this. And I have an issue with you when you do that. And when you act like this happens and it drives me nuts. And they just completely like trauma dump. Like all these things that were bothering them. And in reality, is like, did it really bother them? I mean, sometimes it did and sometimes it doesn't, right? Depends on the person, obviously. But nonetheless, it's like, rather than saying shit when they need to say shit, right? They just come out after like a woman's like, whoa, I was like saying like one thing, like, just like wash your dish when you put it in the sink. It takes like 30 seconds. Or rinse it before you put it in the dishwasher. It takes like 30 seconds. And all of a sudden you're coming to me with this like scroll of doom of, oh, you snore and you this and you that and you that and you this. And it's like, my God. Unnecessary. Dudes, guys, if you're listening to this, unnecessary. Okay. Let's standardize something here. Let's all just be open and honest with each other. It literally makes life so much easier that if you meet someone and you start dating them and something bothers you, you have literally 2 choices. That's it. 2 choices. Choice number 1, you can walk away. You can call it quits. Hey, you know what? We had a good run, but this isn't working for me. So choice number 2, you can sit them down and say, hey, I've noticed over the past blah, 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 that you blah, 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 and it makes me feel blah, 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 blah. Whether it's a good or bad thing, chances are it's a bad thing. Now you're giving this person the option to either A, correct it, or B, say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm sorry you feel this way, but this is how I act. Like, this is me. This is what you're signing up for by being with me. And then at that point, you can either reassess and say, hey, is this something that I could live with? Or it's not, and I'm going to walk away. Because at the end of the day, I'm about to say like people don't change. People do change. Okay. Change is inevitable. We are human beings. All we do is change. And this idea that we stay stagnant is bullshit. All we do is change. Not always for the better. Not always even noticeable. But we always are changing. So in that situation, you can either A, look at yourself and say, is this something I can live with? Or do I need to make a change to like let this go, understand it, not be bothered by it? And that's completely up to you. Like, this is where the whole idea of like boundaries come from, like deal breakers, because if somebody, like, a boundary is not a threat, a boundary is like an action, and it's not an action for somebody else. If you create a boundary, it's an action that you create for yourself, right? If somebody crosses that line, you're out. Done and done. No questions asked, nothing. You crossed this line. This was a boundary. I'm gone. That's what a boundary really is. And for those people who don't understand, boundaries are real things. They're very serious. If somebody crosses your boundary, gone. That's it. This isn't a, maybe it wasn't that bad, because you're attached to other things about them and you're willing to like sacrifice it. Listen, again, completely your choice. That's your choice. If you want to sacrifice that, your choice. But to me, you cross a boundary, you're gone. That's why we have boundaries. If you need to reassess your boundaries to say, hey, you know what, maybe some of these things I'm being a little bit, extra about, and I can tone them down, then that's, again, your choice. This is why I say, like, you have to be very self-aware when it comes to like dating and relationships. That's why you really have to know yourself. We aren't kids anymore. This isn't about learning. This is about living for the rest of our lives. This is about finding someone to be with for the rest of our lives. Not, let's see what I can take. Let's see what I can handle. You're supposed to have done that already. And granted, I understand some people married young. Some people didn't have much of a dating repertoire when they were younger. Some people didn't do the exploration thing, and we're doing it now, which fine. But understand that even if that's the case, because again, we're always changing. And I mean, I've even said it before, when you have a list of things that you want in a person, that list will evolve and it will change over time, because some things might have been important to you in the past, and they might have been on that list because of what someone did to you in the past. And then you realize, not a big deal, because there's all these other things that are more important. And so your list changed. So as I said, we're always changing, always evolving. Knowing yourself is the key here. Back to communication, right? You have those two options. Sit someone down, talk to them. They might change. They might not. They might say they will, and then a month later, they haven't. Well, now what do? Still two options. You can sit them down and have a conversation about it and say, hey, listen, like you said you were going to do it, you didn't do it. Is this something that you can do? Can I live with it? Your choice. Did my light die? Yes, it did. That's fine. Your choice. So that's again, communication. And now we get into the whole idea of acceptance. Very simple. Is this something that I can accept? Is this person something that I can accept? This is why having that list of things that you want in a person and things that you don't want in a person. This is a hard list. This is like a list of boundaries, essentially. This isn't of like, nice to haves and this and that. No, none of that shit matters. Nice to haves don't matter. Unless they matter to you, then it's like a must have, right? There should only be one list. Must haves, must have nots. And if somebody has, great. If somebody doesn't have, see you later. And this is why it is important for this list to be like concrete. So you really need to think about, what am I willing to accept at the end of the day? Because so many people out there are like, oh, you know what? If I find someone that has like 80% of the things I'm looking for, I'd be happy with that. That's your choice. That's your choice. But is there a hierarchy of, this 80%? Because then to me, that's not necessarily must-haves. Because if they're missing something, then, you're making a concession to someone who doesn't have what you're looking for. And you're like, well, close enough. But that missing shit is going to bother you because it's must-haves, not nice-to-haves, must-haves. That's the only list you should have. And that's the whole idea of like acceptance, right? And this is why communication and acceptance come together. Because here's the funny thing. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Okay? So if you expect something, again, this is part of the acceptance part, right? Because you expect a person to be a certain way, and that's how you will accept them. But if you haven't spoken about these expectations, and I've been seeing a lot of this on social media, which just blows my mind. It's nuts. Where women are posting like memes and like quotes. I mean, I post quotes all the time. If you go look at my Instagram, that's at Joey Francis. Some women are posting these quotes where it's like, you know what? Don't tell a guy how to be. Don't tell a guy what you're looking for. The right guy will just know. And it's like, okay, I don't see how that's possible. You are an individual. You are you. There's only one of you in the world. And you're expecting someone to act and be a certain way, like the way you want them to be. What if the guy that you're looking for in every single way is absolutely perfect for you? Perfect for you. But see, he was married for 15 years and is like freshly divorced and did the work for himself and is now healthy and ready to start dating. But you meet him, start talking to him, and he doesn't do a lot of the things that you want him to do, but you didn't tell him anything. He's just being him. You're going to say to yourself, he's probably not the guy for me. But you see, here's the funny thing. In reality, he was married for 15 years. So do you know like the type of stuff that he's going to do? It was probably the type of stuff that his ex-wife liked. He was probably thinking, or not even thinking, just like acting like from like muscle memory, that he was doing all the things that his ex-wife liked and not necessarily what you like or how you want things done. So rather than you saying, hey, listen, you know what? Not for anything, but if we like, change things a little bit and did this like this and that like that, rather than the way that you're doing them, like, would you be okay to it? And chances are he'd be like, oh yeah, sure. No problem. Like it's like nothing. Like I was just doing this because this is the way that I've always done it. I haven't had to do it any other way. Right. So your little meme and your quotes are essentially shutting the door on good men because communication, like you're literally telling people, hey, you want to find the perfect person? Lack communication. Stop talking. Okay. Don't tell people how you want, what you want and what you're looking for. And I know that some people are going to argue this point and be like, well, you know what? If you tell people like what you want, that's just what they're going to be. Yeah. And if they can't be that person, guess what? It's going to show up sooner rather than later because people cannot hold a way of being unless it's truly them. Try faking it. You cannot fake being a different person. Your inner true self will come out eventually. And I get it. There's guys out there that will be or try to be your Prince Charming, right? To get what they want. A little fun in the sack. And then the minute they get that, gone. Here's an idea. Keep your legs closed. Just like that. How about don't sleep with people? Let's change this whole idea of like the third date rule, so to speak. Don't sleep with people until you're ready, until you're sure, until you have no doubt of who you're with. Or if it's just something that you want to do, then you do it at your own pace. But don't come to me and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to lack communication on purpose because the right guy is just going to know. No, the right guy's not going to know. We aren't kids anymore, right? You want things to be a certain way. You want a person to act a certain way, and they might have been trained by somebody else to act a way. And you know what? The same goes for women and the other way around. Men don't generally have this problem because they know what they want. And if a woman isn't it, then they walk away. But some of them will speak their mind. So I guess men do kind of have this problem. You know what? I bite my tongue on that one. But guys generally, like even if a woman isn't exactly how he wants, they'll just let her be. And they'll be like, you know what? She takes care of me and she this and she that. And I'll just like let it go. So that does happen. A lot of guys will look the other way to certain things, to how a woman is. I even do it too. So shame on me. I know I should practice more what I preach. I'm going to have a conversation with certain women. Anyways, neither here nor there. Yeah, as I was saying, unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments, because if you do not tell people what you want or what you're looking for or how you want your partner to be or act, then and then you stick with them anyways, down the line, you know what's going to end up happening? You're just going to resent them, as I just said. You're just going to resent them. You're going to be like, you know what? This isn't exactly what I wanted. And you're not exactly what I wanted. And the poor person on the other end of that's going to be like, wait a minute. Why didn't you say something? If I wasn't it, why didn't you say something sooner? Right? Why all of a sudden, like now, it's an issue, like 6 months or a year, or 2 years or 3 years down the line? Why now is it an issue? Okay? This is why we need to have conversations. Okay? And listen, if you are in a relationship with somebody, okay, and you're not exactly sure how things are going, I have some, you know what? Here's three simple questions that you can ask them, okay? How connected are you? How connected are you feeling to me in this relationship? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about me? Are you still super excited to see me? Do you still get excited when you hear, like, you see that I'm calling you, that I text you? Or is it like, me, I don't really feel connected to you anymore. I'm not really feeling it. Like, I'm doing this more out of convenience because we've already made it this far. Because if that's the case, then maybe we need to stop, talk, reassess our whole relationship. And if we need to go separate ways, then so be it. Right? That's question 1. Question 2, what are some compromises that you've made in this relationship, and how are you feeling about them? Okay. Because each and every one of us, to some degree, make compromises within ourselves. This has nothing to do with the other person, but we make compromises within ourselves to be with another person. And maybe asking about this is like, hey, like, what compromises have you made to be with me? And how do you feel about them? Are they really bothering you? Is it something that you've like compromised and not looked back? Like, what's the level here? What's going on here? Because this is where, that unspoken expectations come from, the resentments. This is where it all starts from, right? Because we don't necessarily say things about certain things. So ask people these questions that you're talking with. And 3, is there anything that I've been doing that you dislike or that you want me to know about and want me to change or stop? And again, this is about being self-aware, because sometimes, like, we are who we are. We know how we act. I don't necessarily know what I'm doing is going to affect you or how it's affecting you. So by asking this question, it's like, hey, is like everything cool with the way that I am? And this isn't coming from a place of like self-deprecation or self-esteem. This is like me checking in with you. It's like, hey, do you enjoy being around me? Are there habits or anything that piss you off? That's essentially where this is coming from. Because it could be things that could be changed. It could be things that, this is just who I am and I apologize. It's maybe there's a way that I can help you through it, or maybe we're done. And that's the importance of communication. That's why I'm like giving you like a couple of questions here to help assess the situation that you're in. Because sometimes as we're dating someone, we start to do it at a convenience because it's just there. And then when you think about it and you're like, you know what? This person doesn't necessarily feel like my person, but it's a lot better than me going back out and dating. Let's just see where it goes. And then we just waste more time. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, this affects me much. At the end of the day, time is the one commodity we will never get back. It is more valuable than relationships. It is more valuable than money. It is the most valuable thing, like on a personal level. It is the most valuable thing in our lives because it is our lives. And the idea of proper communication and the idea of being able to talk to someone and they understand what we mean and vice versa, that we understand what they mean, because there's another thing. Sometimes people say things and they don't ask questions. They're not sure. They just assume. Fuck that. Ask a question. If you're not sure, say, hey, is there a better way that you can explain this for me to understand? Because I'm not understanding. And you keep saying it till you understand, especially if it's important. Okay? This is what communication is for at the end of the day, to save time. Because when you go to McDonald's, if you go to McDonald's or wherever, even a restaurant, you go to any restaurant, you don't sit down at that restaurant, look at the waiter and go, can you guess what I want? In hopes that the waiter or waitress gets it right. Because if they don't, you're going to have a shit time. They might pick something you may be like, yeah, it's not bad. Not what I wanted. Not bad though. But again, you didn't get what you want at the end of the day. Now, if not bad is good enough for you, all the power to you. Life is probably easier for you than most people. But see me, good enough's not good enough. I want what I want. And there's only one way that someone's going to get that, by communicating properly, essentially. I think I drove my point quite hard here. I might revisit this again because of how important this is. Nonetheless, if you want something specific, be vocal about it. If you're dating someone and there's an issue with the way that you see the future, or not an issue, but you see the future in a specific way and you want someone that's going to align with that way, there's only one way that's going to happen. You need to talk. We need to communicate. Life becomes so much easier that way. If you just tell people what you want, most people I'd like to think would be like, hey, you know what? That's not me. I cannot fulfill that expectation. So we're just going to have to say, it's been fun and see you later. And on that note, see you later. Thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate it. If by any chance you want to write me and give me a question, or you need some help from me, or you have a podcast idea, you can go to joeyfrancis.com. That's joeyfrances.com. And there you can fill out a little box which sends me an email, and then I can respond and we can communicate, and I can try to help you out, or maybe you can help me out. Who knows? I'm always open-minded to everything. So again, thank you so much for listening. Remember, what do I want to say for this week? You know what? Just go out into the world and communicate. Be honest with your words. And if somebody doesn't understand, try to make them understand. Say things in different ways. Who knows? Nonetheless, thank you so much. Until next time.